Bleak Faith Forsaken is a Souls-like action RPG made by a three-piece studio called Archangel Studios. The game was released on the 10th of March this year, and let's just say the launch was rough. It instantly became mostly negative on Steam. Now it's mixed and slowly but surely finding its way to the mostly positive section by having overall 67% being positive. One of the reasons why it's climbing up is that the devs are actually doing a lot to improve the game. They're fixing various bugs and glitches, and let's be fair, there were plenty of game breaking and annoying bugs. Now, to save some of you some time, if you don't like the game to begin with, this video won't change everything around for you probably. The game's still janky, it's still messy and buggy, but if you're open-minded about it and looking for some information about some of the positive improvements, changes, there are some really good fixes that I'd like to pinpoint in this video. Is Bleak Faith Forsaken fixed already? No. And to be completely honest, I don't think that it will ever be fixed, at least to the point where people who compare it to Elden Ring are pleased. I'm not making it up, there are people like that. But is it changing for the better? Absolutely. Just to be clear, I'm not trying to sell you Bleak Faith Forsaken. Although I'm quite enjoying the game and having a really good time exploring Omni structure, it's still very hard to recommend, so please be mindful and do your own research before spending your money. My name is Mighty Melvo, and these are, in my opinion, the most important updates Archangel Studios have implemented so far. Like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let's start. Good stuff first. Controller support. Do you remember how bad it was on launch? It was terrible, the camera was wobbly and sometimes had life of its own. Well, it's no longer an issue. Using a controller now is much more enjoyable. I'd say it's just enjoyable. Before it was nearly impossible to use. Camera sensitivity is now fixed. Walking can now be triggered by slightly moving an analog stick opposed to a walk toggle button. Movement now has full 360 support. Parry has a dedicated button, it's Y or triangle by default. Quick step can now be completely removed from your moveset, as in you no longer have to double tap the dodge button to roll. It's optional, you can either switch it off or leave it as is. I keep it as is. There's now a keybind for heavy attack, LB plus RB or L1 plus R1. You can also now change the camera shoulder by pressing LB plus RS, L1 plus R3. And many more little improvements you can find in the patch notes. I just wanted to highlight the most important ones, in my opinion. If some of the keybinds are not working for you, you might need to reset the mapping back to default. You should fix everything. Overall, it's pretty good now. It's not worse than with mouse and keyboard, that's for sure. Some inputs still fail to register, but this issue persists on both mouse and keyboard and the controller. I play Bleak Faith with a controller now, and the only time I really want to switch back to mouse and keyboard is when I have to shoot these obnoxious fucks with bow and arrow. Updated animations. It's worth mentioning that some of the animations in the game are changed. This one is surrounded by some controversy, and without going too deep down that rabbit hole, Archangel Studios, and I quote, purchased these assets from the Epic Marketplace in good faith and with the understanding that Epic, as they do with their marketplace sellers, went through a vetting and review process before the assets were sold. Long story short, some of the animations looked a lot like ones from Elden Ring. Anyways, they are replacing the controversial animations with non-controversial ones, and I can't see much difference, to be honest. Beating Conrad the Traitor is much easier now without him throwing his fucking helicopter tantrum. Anyways, just letting you know that some of the animations are now different, nothing game-changing though. No giants insta-death. I've experienced this bug maybe 1 or 2 times, but some players had massive issues with giants insta-killing them when they try to, climb the giant. According to the patch notes, it's now fixed, and well, yeah, I haven't experienced the issue since the hotfix, but I don't know. It might appear later on, or it might not. Also, the giants now will lose sight of you faster and clip through walls less. In my opinion, something still should be done with the giants. Some overhaul, because they are frequent enemies and fighting them is like really boring and tedious. Sometimes it takes a lot of time, but it's never challenging. People who have already fought a Baron Knight might agree with me. Seriously, fuck that guy. Lootable pages with lore. Wow! There are now lootable pages with lore scattered around. It's a very good improvement given that there were not many lore sources aside from a couple of one-sided dialogues with NPCs. Not that these lore pages will give you some great insight on what's going on in the world, but at least will give you something to speculate on. Definitely a good thing, although one lore page was glitching out and displayed as an error. It's now all fixed. Here are some other changes that I've noticed. You no longer fall through elevators. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I did fall through like 5-7 times. It's all good now, and I've double checked it with the most notorious elevator on the way to these Bioshock scuba diving aficionados. All fixed. You can ride them for days now, like back and forth, 3 minutes going up, 3 minutes going down, easy. Increased hitboxes. Not so much. Hitboxes are still very inconsistent, although it's a bit better now. Your weapons still go through enemies from time to time, as well as their weapons go through you. Fighting on the stairs is still a nightmare. Avoid it. And for a game with no iframes, having iframes is a catastrophe. Enemies' hearing range is different now. According to the patch note from the 20th of March, enemies' hearing range is now 12 meters, which allows some stealthy approach. I haven't fully tested that, but it looks like, yeah, hearing range is indeed reduced a bit. Corpses now disappear after 5 minutes to reduce issues on older PCs. In my opinion, this should be optional, but someone told me during my stream that this was implemented because it affects how game physics work on all PCs. I don't think they do disappear, to be honest. Oh, and the continue and new game buttons on the title screen are reordered to avoid starting a new game by accident. Nice touch. No, seriously, it's a very good change. Continue should be on top. Here are some things that, in my opinion, need to be changed ASAP. We all praise Dark Souls Remastered for its level design.
But my favorite woman.
Every nook and cranny of the map is a joy to explore. If you find a dubious little pathway somewhere, you are sure that you will be rewarded with something for checking it out. Just something. Anything. A dung pine. Thank you. In Bleak Faith Forsaken, there's a ton of places that look like they're explorable. I mean, there are stairs, there are ladders, there are even enemies. A great indicator that something is there. Come on, it's worth it. But to my disappointment, there are so many dead ends with nothing. You can spend like 40 minutes exploring an area to eventually realize that there's nothing there. No unique loot, no optional bosses or lore drops. I don't want to spend 40 minutes getting more intestinal parasites and mutated tongues. I know just a place to get them without that much of a hassle. I think it's a level design issue too, but changing levels is much harder than, adding some loot here and there to make exploration worthwhile for players, or maybe some extra challenging enemies that give you extra rewards. Better be a piece of lore or something, or an item, anything, please. Give me anything. Oh, fuck, there's nothing here. There's nothing. Balance. There are some balance issues. Now that I've played the game more, I can see it clear as day. Some enemies just one-tap you, but it's not me who's bad, okay? Enemy damage is just inconsistent. Sometimes they deal taunts, sometimes they deal pixels, and you don't understand why. I don't understand why. How can I get good if I don't understand why? I don't know how balancing works to begin with, so I have nothing to suggest aside from, can it please work? Do you know how to make it good? I don't know how to make it good. Let's talk about it in the comments. Sliding down ladders. Dude, fucking ladders, they're so long. We need a sliding down option, please. There's still much to fix and improve on, and I'm really glad that the devs are doing stuff, fixing the game. I still think it should have been done before releasing it, or at least releasing the game as an early access title. I have no slightest clue why it's not in early access. It would have made so much sense. I just think that $30 is a lot for a game that needs so many patches and hotfixes. But anyways, I'm not gonna be making another Bleak Faith video, at least not anytime soon, unless of course something out of ordinary happens. Just wanted to make this quick video to update you on the improvements. Anyways, what's your experience with Bleak Faith? Are you enjoying it or are you not? Are you involved? There's a Bleak Faith official Discord where you can talk to the devs directly. Let me know in the comments what you think about Archangel Studios' strategy on fixing things. Let's chat down there. Thank you very much for watching my video. Like it and subscribe, it goes a long way and helps me heaps. Have a good one, see ya.
Well, that sucked.